provide you with a little disclaimer for the following and all future videos. The opinions expressed within this video and all Film Spark podcast content are those of Ebony's the host, and or the guest present in these videos. You are welcome to disagree and discuss in the comments and on socials. However, remember to be respectful as this is a safe space for all. With that being said, I'll leave you in Ebony's hands and enjoy the video.
Hello, I'm Ebony and this is the Film Spark podcast. This week I come to you with my personal top 10 films of 1991 and will continue to do such for each year of the 90s and an overall favourites of the decade at the end. Shout out to Cody Leach here on YouTube whose Back to the 80s series inspired this idea. With that being said, let's get started. And I think it's pretty obvious there'll be spoilers ahead. Coming to you at number 10 is Curly Sue. Curly Sue is a 1991 American comedy drama film written, produced and directed by John Hughes and starring James Belushi, Kelly Lynch and Alison Porter. It tells the story of a homeless con artist and his young orphan companion who gain shelter with a rich divorce lawyer. This was the final film directed by Hughes, and the film received generally negative reviews from critics, and I must say now looking back, I can kind of understand why. This film had multiple issues and downfalls, however I grew up watching this over and over as a kid, so I kind of grew to love it. And it just has that nostalgic feel for me, hence why although it's in my top 10 list, it comes out at number 10. Number 9 is Hook. Hook is a 1991 American adventure film directed by Steven Spielberg and written by James V. Hart and Malia Scott-Marmo. It stars Robin Williams as Peter Banning / Peter Pan, Dustin Hoffman as Captain Cook, Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell, Bob Hoskins as Mr. Smee, and Maggie Smith as Granny Wendy. It serves as a sequel to J.M. Barrie's 1911 novel Peter and Wendy, focusing on an adult Peter Pan who has forgotten his childhood. In his new life, he is known as Peter Banning, a successful but unimaginative and workaholic lawyer with a wife, Wendy's granddaughter, and 2 children. However, when his old arch-enemy Captain Hook kidnaps his children, he returns to Neverland to save them. Along the journey, he reclaims the memories of his past and becomes a better person. Such a classic film, and like most Robin Williams films, it's one to see at least once in your lifetime. A look into the future Peter Pan and keeping the story alive through his kids, Hook takes a classic tale and throws it on its head in the best way possible. Eating into number 8 is Child's Play 3. Child's Play 3 is an American slasher film and the third installment in the Child's Play film series. The film is written by Don Mancini and directed by Jack Bender. Brad Dourif once again reprises his role as Chucky from the previous films, while new cast members include Justin Whalen, Perry Reeves, and Jeremy Silvers. Although released only 9 months after Child's Play 2, the story takes place 8 years following the events of that film, and 1 month before the events of Bride of Chucky, which was actually made 7 years later. It was executive produced by David Krishna, who produced the first 2 Child's Play films. The film became notorious in the United Kingdom when it was suggested it might have inspired the real-life murder of British child James Bulger. Can you really go wrong with a flick from the Child's Play franchise? Actually, don't answer that. However, 3 is not one to turn your nose up at. A lot of fun, and although not as good as the first and a controversial opinion, but for me, not as good as Bride of Chucky, that follows, 3 is a still fun flick to watch with friends and has all the antics of your favourite doll with some new characters sprinkled in. Sliding into 7 is Fried Green Tomatoes. Fried Green Tomatoes is an American comedy drama film directed by John Avnet and based on Fannie Flagg's 1987 novel Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe. Written by Flagg and Carol Sobieski and starring Kathy Bates, Jessica Tandy, Mary Stuart Masterson, Mary Louise Parker, and Cicely Tyson, the film tells the story of a housewife who, unhappy with her life, befriends an elderly lady in a nursing home and is enthralled by the tales she tells people she used to know. Like all good Southern Gothic stories, Fried Green Tomatoes serves up a heaping portion of tall tales, scary situations, and explorations of social issues. The story unfolds in ellipses and fable-like flashbacks that make it both spellbinding and frightening. Teaching viewers the importance of altruism. It wouldn't be the long-standing favourite it is without the phenomenal performances of some of the day's best actors. Bates, Tandy, Cicely, Tyson, and Parker bring this tale to life. They also raise questions about whether the way we deal with issues like homelessness and racial intolerance is much better today. Coming in at number 66 is Thelma and Louise. Thelma and Louise is an American film directed by Ridley Scott and written by Callie Curry. The film has elements of multiple genres and has been described as a drama, adventure, or road movie with elements of a romantic comedy. It stars Susan Sarandon as Louise and Gina Davis as Thelma, two friends who embark on a road trip that ends up in unforeseen circumstances. Filming took place in California and Utah from June to August 1990. The supporting cast include Harvey Keitel, Michael Madsen, Christopher McDonald, and a then-unknown Brad Pitt in one of his first major film roles. Chock full of great performances and dramatic scenes, this is one truly amazing film that crystallizes a moment in feminist social history for all time. It is an updated feminized version of an outlaw road movie. Still quite potent today, the film's no-hold-bars approach to confronting the subservient position thrust upon females in society hasn't been matched in the time since its release. Note that scenes involving rape and glorification of suicide and destruction of property makes this film inappropriate for kids. You've been warned. It is not a children's film. You have been warned. Halfway there and coming in at 5 is My Girl. My Girl is an American coming-of-age romantic comedy drama film directed by Howard Zieff, written by Loris Elchwanay, and starring Dan Aykroyd, Jamie Lee Curtis, Macaulay Culkin, and Anna Chlumsky in her first role in a major motion picture. The film tells the story of an 11-year-old girl living in Madison, Pennsylvania during the summer of 1972. Death and single parenthood are never easy topics to talk about with children, and this film deals with them in a mature, responsible way. It encourages kids to talk about their feelings regarding death, as well as the romantic lives of their parents. This is a hard watch for many, but I feel it's definitely a watch that's needed. This deals with so many topics that as a young kid, it just really helps explain a lot, and I highly recommend this film to anyone who hasn't seen it. Child or adult alike, it's a very well-made, thought-out film, and that is why it comes in at number 5. Fantastic Four is Addams Family. The Addams Family is an American supernatural black comedy film based on the characters from the cartoon created by cartoonist Charles Addams and the 1964 TV series produced by David Levy. Directed by former cinematographer Barry Sonnenfeld in his screen directing debut, the film stars Angelica Houston, who was also nominated for a Golden Globe for her performance as Morticia Addams, Raul Julia as Gomez Addams, and Christopher Lloyd as Fester Addams. The film focuses on a bizarre, macabre, aristocratic family who reconnect with whom they believe to be a long-lost relative, Gomez's brother Fester Addams. So what happens when you translate a comic to a TV show to a film? You get pure comedy genius. That's what. 1991's Addams Family is a rare gem. It's hard to translate other media to film, however it's done so well in this family favourite. This film wouldn't be as successful without the amazing cast choices that were chosen. Everyone just embodies these characters so well, bringing them to life like no one else ever could. And yes, that does include, more so, than Jenna Ortega's Wednesday. With no honourable mentions, let's get straight into the bronze with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Bill and Ted's Journey is an American science fiction comedy film and the featured directorial debut of Pete Hewitt. It is the second film in the Bill and Ted franchise and a sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from 1989. Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, and George Carlin reprise their original roles. The film, which partially spoofs The Seventh Seal, received mixed reviews from critics and was a box office failure, but has since gained a cult following like its predecessor. Despite the name, there is nothing bogus about this journey. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey is perhaps even smarter than the original as it expands the potential for the surreal and ties up all the loose ends, managing quite remarkably to give its own pointlessness a purpose. And that is why it comes in at number 3. Coming into silver is Drop Dead Fred. Drop Dead Fred is a black comedy fantasy film directed by 8 de Jong, produced by Polygram and Working Title Films, and released and distributed by New Line Cinema. Starring Phoebe Cates as a young woman named Elizabeth Cronin, and Rick Mile as her imaginary friend, Drop Dead Fred, with Marsha Mason, Carrie Fisher, Ron Eldred, Tim Madison, and Bridget Fonda in supporting roles. It follows Elizabeth as she is haunted by Fred in her adulthood. A lot of us 90s kids remember the charm and humour of Drop Dead Fred with fondness. However, it seems a lot of adults from the time, including many critics, despise the film. With the eccentric comedy stylings of Rick Mile playing a central role, it seemed destined to be either loved or hated. It is possible, however, that both adults and kids may have been too distracted by the loud antics to recognise the truly heartfelt look it takes at long-term effects of abusive childhoods. Well, ladies and germs, we've done it. We've made it through another year of the 90s, and coming in to take the gold spot is Silence of the Lambs. The Silence of the Lambs is an American psychological horror film directed by Jonathan Demme and written by Ted Talley, adapted from Thomas Harris's 1988 novel. It stars Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, a young FBI trainee who is hunting a serial killer named Buffalo Bill, played by Ted Levine, who skins his female victims. To catch him, she seeks the advice of the imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins, a brilliant psychiatrist and cannibalistic serial killer. The film also features performances from Scott Glenn, Anthony Heald, and Kasi Lemmons. Very few movies have ever won the top 5 Oscars: Best Actor, Actress, Screenplay, Director, and Picture. However, this is one of them, and for a good reason. The film's principal attraction stems not from the thrill of the hunt, but from the spellbinding skull sessions between Jodie Foster's heroine and Anthony Hopkins' brilliant menacing villain. Well, that's it. We've come to the end of 1991. I hope you've enjoyed the second installment of this fun little series, and stick around for the remainder of the decade in upcoming episodes. My name is Ebony, this is the Film Spark Podcast, and thank you for watching.